today we're going to talk about 6 ways to unschool math using real life. So let's get right into it. The first way that you can unschool math using real life is to use the math problem of the day. And what this is a little game that I would do with my kids is I would create a problem based on real life experiences where you'd use a lot of math, such as I want to paint a room. The room has such and such dimensions. It's a 10 by 12 foot room. And I want to paint all of the walls. The can of paint only covers X number of square feet. And so how many cans of paint am I going to need if I need to use, if I want to coat it with 2 coats of paint? I may use a problem like that, or I may come up with one that's a little bit more elaborate, like tiling a room, tiling the bathroom, or tiling the floor and the walls of a bathroom, or maybe coming up with something related to gardening and a garden plot, and how would you figure out how many rows you could fit in the space that you have, that kind of thing. So creating math problems around things that you would encounter in real life, places where you would normally use it, things like building a fence, tiling the kitchen or bathroom, and also building projects. But I try not to give them problems related to like calculating mortgage interest or earnings on an annuity or things like that, unless they are a little older, maybe, where those things start to become a little bit more relevant. So that's one thing, math problem of the day. Number 2 is number scavenger hunt. And this is something that you could do with physical objects at a park, in your home, museum, or someplace else. It can also be done as a paper and pencil game with magazines or books. And it can be adapted to cover a variety of different math skills. So what you would do is, for example, like practicing factors with physical objects. So you make a list of items for the child to find in your house, and you say that are multiples of 5. So the number game then becomes, can you find different objects in the home that represent multiples of 5? We have, 10 forks. We have 5 bars of soap. We have 15 leaves on this particular plant. We have 30 straws, things like that. You may also have you can also use it with other things. It doesn't have to be multiples of something. It could be different things that their total adds up to 50. Or it could be finding things out in nature that, finding 2 of one thing, finding 5 of another, finding, 20 of another, sort of like a number scavenger hunt. So you can do it in a number of different ways, but that's the number scavenger hunt game. The third one is newspaper statistics, and this is one of my favorite ones because we find this all over the place in magazines, newspapers. Of course, now it's a lot of online stories where they quote statistics, and sometimes it's advertisement claims. So you would challenge your child to find the statistics, and then you talk about, well, what do they mean? So where did these percentages come from? And if it's appropriate, make a graph. See if you could find the answer. Percentage of what? So, you often see, well, 50% of men think this, or 80% of the public thinks this. Well, where did that statistic come from? Do they have a reference? You could also talk about it in terms of like applied probability. And one great resource for doing this with kids is Highlights Magazine has Mathmania puzzle books, where there's a lot of probability types of things. Also, probability of me winning this giveaway, for example. So talking about statistics and probability. The fourth one is I'm going shopping, and there's two of these ideas that are very similar. So I'm going shopping is very similar to my idea number 5, which is I'm throwing a party. So they're very similar. But I'm going shopping is where you give your child $10, maybe it's $5, maybe it's $20, whatever amount that you would choose, and challenge them on how many items can they buy with that amount of money. Do they count for tax? Do they count for sales? There's so many learning opportunities with this. You could give them a list and say, can you buy everything on this list with the money that I've given you? So, you could even offer an incentive if you wish. Whoever can purchase all of these things for under $5 gets a special treat. Or gets to keep whatever they find, whatever you want to do as a challenge, but that also makes it especially fun, and creates a little bit of an incentive to really try to keep the items within the range that you've set. In the throwing the party one, it's very similar because you're giving them a list of items for a party, and maybe you actually are going to have a party and you usually have a budget around what you're going to spend in that party. So, what are the items that you need for the party, and help them figure out how to find all of the things that you need for the party and stay within budget. So you have the grocery list possibility and the throwing a party possibility. And the last one is a little bit of a variation on that, and that is I'm catering a party. So instead of using fractions and measurements like you would in a kitchen math, you would add in some other math concepts. So you give your child some recipes that you might need to make for 30 to 50 people. So then they have to figure out, well, what are the new amounts? Because a recipe is usually for only about 4 to 8 people. They would have to multiply those amounts in order to see how much they need for your party of 30 to 50 people instead, and then take a look at, well, what is that going to cost to get the supplies for that number of people. And then also you may add in an extra challenge, which is, you disappear some of the measuring cups. So they have to figure out, well, if the half cup isn't there, well, then how many quarter cups or third cups would they use instead? You can also add in the budget aspect like you do with the grocery store or the throwing a party math. And so, how much of each of these items will they need in order to throw the party and make those recipes? And can they stay within a certain budget? What is it going to cost for those things? But the idea with the catering the party is more around multiplying fractions to be able to make larger amounts of recipes. That's really the focus there. So, those are some ideas to help you unschool math in real life. And really, I encourage you to look for the math in everything, because math is a tool, not a subject. We use math in ways that we don't even think about half the time. We're doing calculations in our heads, and we don't always share that with our kids. And, really try to be more self-aware of when you're using math, and share those with your child, because then they'll be able to see why they need to know these things and how they can apply them in their everyday life, because math really is fun and a wonderful tool to be able to use very well, not just sort of guessing, but being very adept at using it. So take those ideas and try them out and let me know how it goes.